functions and see what that looks like today. We'll play it by ear. You had a big assignment yesterday, not hard assignment, but a lot of questions. So I want to give you time to work on that. So I want to get through this lesson, and we will play it by ear because I know some of you still need to finish that test, and the others of you will have homework from yesterday to finish.
Probably still just doing one lesson today.
Probably, but we'll play it by ear. I can certainly do more, but so let's do composite functions, and then we will go from there because you have plenty of homework to finish from yesterday. So a composite function, this is going to be kind of weird. This is kind of harder than what we did yesterday. So when I talk about composite, it is something inside of something. So when I'm talking about, so when I'm talking about a composite, I'm going to take a function and plug it inside another function. And so it's kind of weird to think about it, and it's written like this. So you would see like this. This is how it's written, which again is also kind of weird to get used to. This is f of g of x. So this is not multiplication. What you notice is that how you want to look at this is that f or g of x is inside the f function. So you're going to plug g of x in to x in the f of x function. Kind of confusing. It's going to take a little bit, kind of some examples to get used to. So you're going to take a function and plug it in for x in the other function. So you're going to take g of x and plug it into x in the f function. Or whatever functions you're talking about. So let's look at one like this. Let's look at, it's like, what's that one movie? Inception. Or it's something in, what, I don't know that movie.
This won't be as complicated as that movie.
Yes, same thing. Yes, correct. So this is functions inside of functions inside of functions. H. Doesn't really matter. But so if I have two functions, just like yesterday, this is function because you see g of a, h of a, so that's pronounced. This is a function notation, and you say it as g of a, h of a. So I have two functions, and if I want to find, it's going to say find g of h of a. So this is how you kind of notice that this is a composite function. Because I'm not taking a function times a function. That h of a is inside the g function because it's in the parentheses for that g function. So like we did on the warm-ups, if it was g of 3, I took 3 and plugged it in where x is. This is g of h of a, so I'm going to take h of a and plug in for x in the g function. Right? Kind of confusing. I get it. So you're going to take your g function, a minus 3, and I'm going to plug the h function in where a is. So I'm going to take my h function and plug it in where a is. 2a plus 3 minus 3. So it's kind of weird. The math part isn't necessarily terribly hard, but it's weird to kind of think about it. So you're going to take h of a is inside the g parentheses. So you're going to take your h of a function, 2a plus 3, plug it in where a is in the g function. And then there's not really distributing because there's no multiplying. It's just minus 3. So it's 3 minus 3. So it's just 2a. So you plug it in and then you simplify. It may be distributing. It may be just combining terms. Just depends. That's not the hard part. The hard part is kind of looking and thinking about where do I plug stuff into. Okay, let's look at another one. Let's look at one like...
Where's that x coming in?
Where? That's not f. I guess it's a, sorry. Plug in for a. Yeah, sorry, I'm used to working with like f of x. I know, sorry. Okay, example 2, let's look at another one. What if I have two functions? F of x equals 2x plus 4, and g Just a second. I'm doing some off the homework. Merry Christmas. You have one of them done.
Oh, so the first one's off the homework?
Correct.
Yes.
Glad I caught myself. Okay, let's do f of x equals 2. Let's change this real quick. I'm not teaching it. Are you taking pre-cal? Okay, because I'm like, this was the whole requirement, because you are not, this class did not prepare you for pre-calc. Okay. No, I didn't. That's the whole point of this class. I know, but I was, yes. Okay. Let's look at one like this. Let's say I have g of x, we're changing it up. G of x equals x squared minus 3x.
So is this not one off the homework now?
Correct.
Why you guys being dirty like that?
I don't know how to answer that. Okay, so g of x equals x squared minus 3x, and h of x is 3x minus 4. So we have two functions, and it will say find g of h of x. Okay, so you kind of have to get used to seeing it, telling that it's a composite function. It won't say this is a composite function, but you will notice that there will be a function inside that g parenthesis part. So h of x is inside the parenthesis for the g function. So you're going to take h of x and plug it in where x is. And there are two places where x are. Yes, I don't know. X is. Because there's only one. There's multiple x's, but we're only talking about one. Whatever. Okay, so we're going to take h of x, listen up, we're going to take h of x and plug it in where x is in the g function, because it's inside the parentheses. So it's going to be 3x minus 4 squared minus 3 times 3x minus 4. This one's kind of a tricky one. So you're taking h of x is inside the parentheses. So you take whatever's in the inside parenthesis and plug it in for x, or whatever variable it is. So you're going to take 3x minus 4, plug it in both places where x is. So 3x minus 4 squared minus 3 times 3x minus 4. Any questions on kind of the plugging it in part?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So this is g of h of x. Whatever's in the parenthesis, which is h of x, gets plugged in for x in the g function. Right? So since h of x is in the parentheses, you take your entire h of x and plug it in where x is. So instead of x squared, it's 3x minus 4 squared. Instead of x, negative 3 times x, it's negative 3 times 3x minus 4. So same big idea, just kind of harder to do. Now we need to simplify. 3x minus 4 squared, how do I simplify that? FOIL, you cannot distribute the squared, so we're going to have to write it as multiplying it by itself, and we're going to have to FOIL.
9x squared.
Okay. We'll probably do one more. 9x squared minus 12x. Guys, pay attention please, I'm in the middle of teaching.
12x again.
So your first two, 9x squared, outside negative 12x, inside negative 12x, so negative 24x,
Plus 16.
and then negative 4 times negative 4 plus 16. However, that was just the foiling part. I still have at the end that negative 3 times 3x minus 4, which will be negative 9x, negative 3 times negative 4,
Negative 12.
negative 3 times negative 4, positive 12. So once you plug it in, there may be some simplifying you have to do, which you guys can do. We can FOIL
Where's that negative 9x supposed to come?
this. So we squared, FOILed, and then we still had that negative 3 times 3x minus 4. Okay, any other questions?
No.
Combine. We have a 9x squared. There's nothing to combine it with. What else can I put together?
24, 9, negative
Yep.
33.
Negative 24, negative 9, negative 33x. Guys, stop the side conversations. I don't take a ton of notes, so when I do, pay attention, please. 16 plus 12, 28. So 9x squared minus 33x plus 28.
Mr. Keller, you are the most interesting man in the world.
Yes. I don't always take notes, but when I do, pay attention. Okay. So one more example. Let's look at Let's do
Let's do another one off the home.
just a second.
No, you started to do another one off the
Okay, so let's look at this one. Example 3. So if I have two functions, let's say I have one like this. If I have g of a equals a squared minus 3a, h of a equals 4a. Let's say I want to find g of h of a. So again, you kind of have to recognize when it's a composite function, and you will see that h of a is inside the parentheses for the g function. So I'm going to take h of a, anything in the parentheses you plug in for the variable. So I'm going to take h of a and plug it in where the a's are. So what it will look like, what? Well, before we simplify it. 4a squared
minus 3
times
4.
4a. Okay? So you take 4a and you plug it in where the a's are. So 4a squared minus 3 times 4a. And then you have to simplify. 4a squared, like we did yesterday. 16a squared. You have to square the 4 and the a. And then negative 3 times 4a. Negative 12a. Can I combine those? No, because they both don't have a squared. So that's your answer. Okay? Same kind of idea, just kind of a little trickier because they're kind of things to keep track of. Okay?